So this morning, we're going to be taking a look at a cool story in the Bible, and it is about faith. And about prayer, really. It's about having faith to pray the prayers that are tough to pray. I'm sure most of us here probably have someone in our lives who, we look at them and we're impressed by their faith. Maybe you got a grandmother who prayed every single day. You say, yep, that's the reason I'm not dead and I'm here right now, right? You have people in your lives who are praying for you. They have faith. And it's impressive to see, people of faith when they dedicate themselves like that. Think of famous ones like a Mother Teresa, like out there in Calcutta serving those people for all those decades, faithfully praying for them. It's quite impressive. We can look to scriptures as well, and we see story after story of people of faith. Like one of the cool ones is, David and Goliath. Most everybody knows that story. Just this kid who happens to come to the front lines because he's bringing some supplies to his brothers who are there fighting, sees this giant taunting the Israelites, and he thought, I'm going to shut that guy up. Of course, he heard some of the reward that was going to happen if he did, right? But he had a faith that was going to do that. Why did he have that? It made no sense. You had the professionals there, the warriors. They've been in battle. They've had to face a man face to face, had to kill someone before, and he was going off. I killed a lion. I killed a bear. I didn't kill this thing. But his faith came from God, because God helped me do that. God helped me do this. And we see that, and we're like, yes. And we think in our lives, yes, God has given us the power to attack those giants. And we say, yes, yes, yes. But the truth is, sometimes we have a tough time praying those prayers. Because we look at these giants of faith. We look at that granny who prayed 20 hours a day for me. And then we look at us. And we think, well, I get why you'd listen to her. I get why you'd listen to him. I'll hit you up later when you're not so busy. Right? We think that. And we think, I don't know if I can pray for that. And it's, and sometimes it comes from, you don't want to go against the sovereignty of God. I know that. I run into this often, coaching sports, and people pray before the game. And they always, one of the common prayers, God, pray that no one gets hurt today if it's your will. Which it's a sovereignty of God thing. It's a giving him respect thing. But I always tell them, I said, you can just ask God for things too. So do you think if I break my leg, that was God's will? Well, I don't know. But sometimes it's kind of scary. I don't want to pray for something that, one, I'm not worthy of praying, or two, that's kind of outside of what God wants. How do I know? How do I know? How do you know? How do I know? Well, there's this story that we're going to look at today that I think is awesome. It is a story that shows that really where real faith comes from, what it requires, what it doesn't require. Because like I said, a lot of us, we'll pray. Listen, and I struggle with this too. I pray. What the easiest stuff to pray for is, it's kind of like what I would call the safe prayers. I pray for my family. I pray for their health. I pray for you guys, right? You pray for all that stuff. But then there's certain things that's like kind of tough to pray for. It's like I remember, let me tell 3 stories at once. My wife loves it when I do that, and I never quite finish sentences. So I'll finish all these sentences, love. We were in Washington State somewhere. I was asked to go out there and speak at this event, and I was out there at this event. It was right before Kirsty and I came down here to the Fox Valley. And there was this cool lady, and she was a lady, I would say, she had some faith. And she tells us this story. She's got this group thing that she hits, kind of like a homeschooling co-op thing. And I couldn't be homeschooled because I may not have survived, driven my mom crazy. But it was for her well-being and my well-being. Ironically enough, I went to a small school where she ended up being my teacher for a couple of years. But anyway, I think it's awesome. It's great. And she has such a heart for it. And she came across this building that was beautiful. We were walking through it. It's where the event was. And she's showing us this building. And if you asked me how much do you think the building cost, I'd tell you, I don't know, $20 million. This big, big building. And it was kind of impressive. And you're kind of thinking like, holy cow. It's quite you're a homeschool co-op. I don't think people are getting rich off of those. So I'm assuming someone's got some money, right? And then she tells this story. Isn't this beautiful building? Isn't this? She's like, talks about how expensive it was, and it was expensive. And she's like, but we came through here, and I said, no, this is where we need to be. And I began trusting God. And it's like I was immediately convicted of, I don't know if I would have. I would have looked at it and been rational. We can't afford this. Right? And here she was. She trusted it, and she's like, and I kept waiting for her to say, so I took a few $1 million that I had and put it in there, thinking maybe she had some. She's like, we had no money. In fact, she said how much money they had. They didn't have any money. But she began trusting God and talking to people. All of a sudden, she's running into people. People say, well, I'll give some money. I'll give some money. Went to the person who owns it, ended up getting a huge discount. But even a discount, let's say you got a $20 million building for $5 million. How many know that's a huge discount? It is, right? How many still can't afford the $5 million, right? Still got a huge discount. And she raised the money. They not only were in that building, it was paid off. And I was like, why can't I pray that prayer? And sometimes we think, well, guys, I don't know. Should I be? Is that weird? Am I asking too much? So let's look at this story this morning. Matthew 15, starting at verse 21, says, leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon, assuming that's how you say those. A Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him, crying out, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly. Jesus did not answer a word. So his disciples came to him and urged him, send her away, for she keeps crying out after us. He answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. The woman came and knelt before him. Lord, help me, she said. He replied, it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. Yes, it is, Lord, she said. Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Then Jesus said to her, woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted. And her daughter was healed at that moment. Wow. So let's take a look at this. First off, we're going to see this person of great faith is a person, we'd call them an unexpected person. You just unassuming. You wouldn't expect this from them. So in this story, Jesus, he had just finished a heated conversation actually with the Pharisees about what makes a person clean or unclean, which is interesting, kind of ties into this a little bit because she's a Canaanite woman, which is unclean. And what's interesting is how, too, Matthew makes a point in here to write, she is a Canaanite woman. He could have just said a Gentile. Now, if you're not big on Old Testament and all that stuff, and you think Jew, Gentile, yeah, whatever. But for them, it was a huge deal. Every Sunday, I forget to take this off of there, and every alert that comes through just on that metal, oh, goodness gracious. So, she is a Canaanite woman. So, again, Jew and Gentile is a huge, huge thing to them. You see them arguing about it in the New Testament after, Jesus leaves. Remember, Paul was being called to them, and they're like, the Gentiles, well, they can't just be Gentile. They have to become Jewish if they want to be saved. And it kind of, shook up their whole mind there about how God was working and stuff. And so for them, though, at this moment, this was a huge, huge deal. All right, not one of us. So to put it in today's analogy, the closest thing we have of people who can't seem to really get along is you just take Republicans and Democrats. Right? Can't generally, you've all been, listen, if you have family, I don't care what side you're on, left, right, middle, You got someone in your family who's on some opposite end of you, right? And you dread it. No. So already that's Jew-Gentile. And then she's a Canaanite woman. These people have centuries of history of being enemies of them. So not just you're an outsider, you're different than me, but attacking me. So now think, Democrat, Republican, but think, okay, you're hanging out with, some Republicans, and then someone comes in with a No Kings shirt or something in a MAGA rally. Or vice versa, you're at a No Kings rally and someone comes in with a MAGA hat. Imagine what they would think of that person. What the heck are you doing here? This is the image that Matthew is trying to get across. A Canaanite woman came in. Not expected. She's an outsider. They preferred to avoid these people. And not only does she come into their group as someone who they don't want to be there, she approaches a Jewish rabbi in public, which is a big deal. And it doesn't say she's coming in quietly. She is loud. She is desperate. Her daughter is suffering terribly under a demonic torment. She's got nowhere else to run. And she comes in to this group of people wearing the wrong hat, the wrong t-shirt, yelling, pleading to the leader of this group that she does not belong. And yet this woman, Jesus gives her praise that he does not give to very many people. She is a woman of great faith. Sometimes the greatest faith shows up in the most unexpected people, which is good news for you and I. And check this out. She comes and she cries out to Jesus. What is his first response? Verse 23. Jesus did not answer a word. Silence. He's kind of seen, you're going to kind of see him play into it. He's sort of playing into the fact that culturally, I shouldn't talk to you. And so he doesn't respond to her, and she doesn't stop. In fact, she's so annoying that it says her disciples urge him to send her away, for she keeps crying out after us. And what you see, and most theologians say this when you look at in the original writing there, that word "send away" is you can actually kind of take away from that. They're literally telling him, answer her prayer so she'll just shut up and go away. Because they know he can do it. Just heal her so she'll go away. She's annoying. She shouldn't be here. They're embarrassed. She's got the wrong hat and t-shirt on. What's she doing here? And get away from us. And she's loud. Oh my goodness. So the disciples say, get rid of her, just send her away, send her away. And it says, Jesus replies in verse 24, says, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. And that was his mission, to come and save them and then to reconcile Jew and Gentile, man and God. So she hears this. She comes forward. She comes closer. Now, a lot of us, if we are struggling to pray a big prayer, maybe you sit down and you think, okay, well, I've got some big need in my life, a big miracle, a big, there's something, some relationships just destroyed, some financial burden that, you can't even think. Because what we like to do, and I know you do this because I do it, we like to see the way that God could move, right? Well, if this piece fell in place and that piece fell in place, then I could get here. So we pray for the pieces, right? We sort of pray for, we can kind of see how it goes, so I'll pray for that. How many know sometimes you don't see any pieces? You don't see any way for anything to happen. And often when we see that, we get silent. But here's a woman who's not afraid to come and ask. Even though she has no right to be there, she knows she's annoying them, and she isn't going to shut up about it. And he comes and he basically says, I wasn't sent here for you. Most of us, if we thought that or heard that in our heart when we're praying, like, because we kind of think this. I don't know, can I even pray this? Does God want to hear this from me? Or is he looking at me saying, oh, you want something from me now? Yeah, I've seen how you've been the last 6 months. Yeah, right? And what would we do? We'd probably go, yeah, okay, sorry. What does she do? Verse 25, the woman came and knelt before him and cried out, Lord, help me. She understands that he wasn't sent for her. She comes closer and she prays a prayer that is so simple and so beautiful. But as I read that, I thought, man, I need to pray that prayer more. Lord, help me. Whatever I'm doing, Lord, help me. Sometimes when you don't know what to pray, you don't know what the answer is. You just know there's a problem and it's there and it's real and I'm overwhelmed. Drop to your knees. Lord, help me. And then comes the hardest line in this whole thing. It says, he replies in verse 26, it's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. So in case she hadn't been offended or discouraged yet, he makes a play on kind of culturally what they would call these Canaanites. These people, they would kind of call them dogs. Now, the way that he writes it in there can actually be translated as little dogs, almost like he's poking fun. Of course, we weren't there, but I could totally see him sort of poking in the fact that I'm a Jewish, you're a Canaanite woman. You're the dogs, you're the little dogs. Now, if this woman thought that she was worthy of something, that I am someone, that you need to respect me, and I've earned this, what would she do if she heard that? She'd have gotten ticked. She'd have ran away. But she doesn't get angry. She doesn't demand fairness. You need to listen to me. She doesn't even try to correct Jesus' mission. Tell him he's being too narrow. She came to him fully aware, I am not worthy. You didn't come here for me. I don't deserve anything. And yet I still desperately need you. Because the way she responds, playfully back, yes, it is, Lord. Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. That's some great faith. Being told, you shouldn't be here, you're not worthy, you didn't earn anything, you shouldn't even, what am I, I'm not here for you, I'm here for these people, what's going on, and she doesn't stop. And it's not because she's, yes, you should. You need to listen to me because don't you know who I am? She comes completely humble. Oh, I'm very aware. And yet, I need you. And that's when he says, woman, you have great faith. Prayer answered. And so here's what this story presses into our hearts today. Do we sometimes get that same thought in our heads where I can't pray that, I'm not good enough, maybe if I read my Bible a little bit more this next week, I'll feel better that I can pray that prayer. Or maybe there's a prayer, man, someone should pray that prayer. Let me find someone who's better than me to pray the prayer, as though Jesus is going to check caller ID before he answers your prayer. And it's so crazy. We think it. I still think it. Oh, and I got to work on it. I don't know if he does those miracles, and here, maybe he's got to do those miracles there, and you can kind of shy away. And, and again, it's usually me trying to logic my way into things. And there's times that logic needs to be, there is no logic. There was no logical reason for her to get what she asked. None. He pointed it out to her, and she still said, Lord, I still need you. I get it. And I thought, oh, God, help me to have that faith, to pray those prayers, to trust you like she did, not because of anything I've done. And I think it's very interesting how Matthew put that story right after the story before that we're not going through. But Jesus was in this debate with the religious leaders of what makes someone clean or unclean. Think of good or bad or righteous or unrighteous. And he's saying this to the people, the men who are like, they follow all the rules. And he was kind of hitting them that just because you do all the rules doesn't mean you're righteous. It has something to do with what's in here. And to tie that all into what this woman does, and she comes and does this, it's just this huge reminder that we don't need to come into church, come into faith, come into prayer pretending that we are something. And we shouldn't come in with any more boldness because we did really good this week. But we should come simply because Jesus is good. And he listens to us no matter what we're going through or what we've done or what we think we've achieved. Because that's what this woman does. She knows all the stuff about her, yet she still comes. She still asks. She still believes. Not at all based on anything she brought to the table. In fact, she understood where she sat in that thing. But for us, it's tough to do. Many of us, it's the opposite. If we feel unworthy, if we feel unrighteous, if we feel we've messed up, we recoil. We pull away from God. You don't come to church because I had a bad week and I don't know what's going to happen when I go in that place. You think you walk in there and Jesus is going to be like, are you kidding me? Oh, you're going to come in here now? Sometimes, like in the mornings, we open up with a worship. You can't even open your mouth to worship. Why? Because I'm just not worthy. Here's the good news. None of this is about you. In fact, when you come in like this woman, understanding I have nothing, and yet here I am, God, Jesus goes, ooh, 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 ooh. Now there's some great faith. Yeah, the person who came in there doing pretty good. I'm feeling good. Not much faith required in that. But when you have nothing and you bring nothing, that requires some faith. Sometimes we get in that thing, we decide that we're not the kind of people that Jesus does miracles for. We shrink back from the very one who wants to meet us. But I love this because this woman shows us another way. We simply need to acknowledge our need for him. Acknowledge that we have no reason for him to accept us or hear us other than his mercy. And with all of that in mind, we come anyway, boldly. So even if you're in a lowly state, you can boldly come to him. Even if you think that you are pretty sure that you are not only going to hell, but you've got a first-class ticket on that plane. You think, I could never be around any of that. But Jesus says, come. But look at me. It's like, yeah, it's not about you, man. The reason we can come boldly is because of Jesus, because of what he did. We're about to celebrate communion. Why do we celebrate communion? Because that points to him. The reason we can have forgiveness is because of him. The reason we can come and ask these prayers is because of him. See, before Jesus was there, she could not have gone to any of the Pharisees, and she couldn't have gotten in there. No one to pray for her. No one to do anything. Jesus comes in, whoosh, everything changes. And now miracles can come. He changes lives. Why? Simply because he loves you and because you came to him. Put your trust in him. So Jesus isn't looking for people who feel worthy enough. In fact, if you look at the New Testament, he got into many an argument with the people who thought they were worthy enough. He's looking for people who know that they need him and refuse to let go. Great faith is not the absence of feeling unworthy. Great faith isn't when you've got this amazing confidence in you because, you were pretty good. Great faith is coming to Jesus even when you feel unworthy, even when you feel like nothing, even when you feel like there's no reason he should hear me or answer my prayer at all. That's great faith. So if you've been pulling back, if maybe you've stopped asking, stopped praying those prayers, maybe you've just really stopped your faith walk at all because you think that you're not someone that Jesus listens to, you think you're not someone that God wants to be around, I want you to hear the invitation of this story. And it's just come anyway. Come with your lowly position. Come with whatever desperate need it is that you have. And come bold enough to ask for even the crumbs, as this woman did. Because the one who praised this woman's faith is still the same one who's listening to us today. Amen.